Hare Krishna, everyone, and welcome all of you to our weekly Bhagavad Gita session. Uh, we'll be discussing one important topic, one important theme from Bhagavad Gita today about the description of mind. Lord Krishna has spoken elaborately in Bhagavad Gita about mind, man, how our mind functions, what is constituted by what is our mind and how it functions and what are the problems associated with this mind and how it can be tamed, how you can win over your mind. So it's a very interesting topic, and it's been a topic for curiosity for many, a problem for most of us, and something that we should all aspire to conquer the mind. And if we can do, even if we can succeed partly in taming our mind or making our mind talk, do according to our desires, we will probably have larger success even in the material life as well as in the spiritual life. So it's one of the most important themes of Bhagavad Gita that Lord Krishna has spoken is regarding the mind. So we'll follow the same pattern. We'll go through the verses, and then we will go through a brief presentation. During that, um, it will be difficult to have question answer group discussion at the beginning or during the session, but you can all hold your questions, and we can take them all towards the end of the session. So with this, we will get started with the hope the screen is visible to everyone.
Yes, Prabhuji, it's visible.
Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. So I'll just try and enlarge it so that make it a little better. If somebody is joining from phone, it will be closed tech. Okay. So the description of the mention of mind comes very early in Bhagavad Gita. Now we have studied this seventh verse in the second chapter, where Arjuna is refusing to fight the battle. Arjuna is standing on the battlefield. In the first chapter, we saw he requested Krishna to take his chariot in between two armies, and he wanted to observe both the armies, the people from both sides who have come there with an intention to fight, and he wanted to closely observe them because the the shankhas were blown already. At any time, the war would have started, and from then onwards, there is no looking back. So Arjuna wanted to use this opportunity to finally take a final look at all these people, whom he knew if the war were to happen, all of them will be dead, because there were many formidable warriors participating in that war from both sides. The Pandava side had Arjuna himself, Bhim, the Panch Pandav, the five Pandavas, and their associates, who were very formidable, very powerful in warfare. On the Kaurava side, he knew Bhishma is there, Bhishmacharya is there, Dronacharya is there, Krupacharya is there, the Duryodhan, Dushasan, all of them were not ordinary warriors by any means. So and just so many people who had assembled in the battlefield, most of them probably would get killed from the warriors from the either side, and hence Arjuna wanted to use this opportunity to take a final look at what's happening, who look at those people who have come there with the intention to fight. And having observed armies from both sides, having seen relatives, friends, your fathers, grandfathers, and great grandfathers, and all the known people assembled in the battlefield, Arjuna's heart gets overwhelmed, and he gets overwhelmed by compassion, and he refuses to fight. And then he gives a series of reasons to make his case for not fighting this battle. And he present that to Krishna. He's speaking with Krishna, and towards the end of his speech, he speak this beautiful verse: Karpanya dosha pahata svabhavaha pruchhami tvam dharma sammudha cheta. So our focus is going to be on dharma sammudha cheta, pruchhami tvam dharma sammudha cheta, on this particular line, because this line indicates that he is refusing to fight. But the reason for his refusal is not his physical inability to fight, not that he has lost all his armors and he doesn't know which weapon to use, when he has forgotten his military skills. None of those, or he's got some fever, he's got some symptoms of physical pain or backache, leg pain, headache. None of those were true. He was fit, he was perfectly in very good condition, and but still he was refusing to fight. He was refusing to fight because of his, he described it as miserly weakness of my mind. Cheta is mind. The consciousness which is caught up is called cheta. Mind which is caught up in a particular activity is called cheta. And so he's bewildered. Sammudha cheta means bewildered mind. And he says, I'm physically okay, but my mind is, I'm become weak minded. And in this condition, Krishna, I cannot fight. So so for doing any activity, we need a physical strength, but we also need mental strength. And if one of these things are missing, especially the mental strength is missing, a mental conviction is missing, mental faith is missing, then doing those activities becomes extremely difficult. And that's what Arjuna was finding out. So very aptly he's put that into the words, that dharma sammudha cheta. I'm bewildered. I'm not able to decide what is my dharma, O Krishna. I'm asking you to tell me what is my dharma. What is my dharma is, again, dharma has many meanings. And in this context, he's asking Arjuna to tell him, he's asking Krishna to tell him what he should do, what his action should be, how he should act in this particular moment. So dharma means activity, dharma means action, what action he should take, how he should act in the given situation. So this is the bewilderment Arjuna is facing. And so this is the first indication that mental health is important. Have managing our mind in order for us to function properly in the world. We not only need a strong body, sharp intelligence, but we need mind. If mind is weak, it can derail the whole train, and we will not be able to do the activities that we desire to. So this is the first verse where Arjuna brings up the topic of mental health. And he says, I'm not feeling good. I'm not, I'm confused. And in this confused state of mind, I cannot fight. So you remove my doubt, you remove my confusion. Now, physically, he is okay. But with this confused state of mind, he's refusing to fight. So action cannot happen. So to which Krishna proceeded by introducing the concept of soul. He's trying to convince him that you think they are all bodies, but they are all spirit soul, and in their real identity of spirit soul, they cannot be killed. And he speaks series of verses describing characteristics of the soul and starts giving knowledge, starts speaking Bhagavad Gita. Later, towards the end of this chapter, for second chapter, Krishna elaborately discussed need for mind control, and what can happen if that is not done. And then he says that the senses are so strong, that Arjuna, that they can forcibly carry away. Haranti prasabhamana. Haranti is a very important word. Haranti is like kidnapping. Krishna is saying that if your mind is not strong enough, then your senses can kidnap mind. Mind is supposed to decide what to do, and should exercise control over the senses, what object to be seen, what voice to be heard, uh, what to eat, what to touch, what to smell. All these things senses have capacity to do, but senses should be regulated by mind. That is expected. But if mind is weak, mind becomes weak, senses can become so strong that they can drive away mind. They can forcibly kidnap your mind, and can cause disaster for a person. Further, Krishna Krishna says in the 67th verse that the senses on which mind, roaming senses, even one of the roaming senses. So senses are like five horses and a chariot example that we often use. We'll see that in today also, that senses are like five horses in a chariot, and the mind is a reins. Using reins, the intelligence is the chariot driver who is supposed to control the horses. Now Krishna says even one of the roaming sense, one of the roaming horse, uh, on which mind will focus, or he will let it loose, not regulate, not control. If you let loose one of your senses out of five, it can carry away a man's intelligence. So the the it is so strong. The senses are also so strong that they can forcibly carry away mind, and not only mind, it can carry away the man's intelligence also. So the intelligence, so the mind who is supposed to control senses, intelligence is supposed to control the mind. Both of them can get carried away if the senses are let loose. Third chapter, 40th verse, Krishna gives the hierarchy. The hierarchy he gives in the 42nd verse, but in this verse he says that mind is a complex in its nature. Now it's not that simple. Mind, the senses, the mind, and Krishna is describing that which is the greatest enemy of the living entity is lust. And where you will find this lust is found in the lust is the sitting places of lust. The lust is available in these three places. The senses, the mind, and the intelligence are the three sitting places of lust. Through them, lust cover the real knowledge of the living entity and bewilders them. Lust is something, it's commonly understood to be attraction between male female, but lust has broader perception, a broader understanding as well. In we saw in the Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, the Durvasa Muni pastime. The lust there was honor. He wanted he didn't wanted Ambarish Maharaj to break his fast unless and until he feeds Durvasa Muni and his associates. And because he takes water, he feels insulted. Durvasa Muni's desire for honor is also lust. We here see that Indradumna Maharaj in the Gajendra pastime. So he was meditating, and the Muni was passing by. He saw him not. He saw that he's meditating on the Lord and not moving. He's not. When a sage comes to you, you are supposed to get up, offer them seat, and offer them nice words, inquire about them, and ask them what is their desire, what is their purpose of coming. And Indradumna Maharaj in his previous birth, he didn't do any of those things. And then the sage got angry. So that honor, the desire for honor, was also his lust. They were he was not able to control that, and then he gives he curses him that you are sitting here like an elephant, you become elephant in your next birth. So Bharat Maharaj's case, Bharat Maharaj, his attachment to deer was a reason for his lust. He couldn't give away, he couldn't let go that baby deer, and he just got hooked to that attachment, and that attachment became cause of his downfall. He had perfected his life almost, but when the deer came into his life, he became deer conscious rather than Krishna conscious, and he attained body of a deer in his next birth. With so the lust has a broader understanding, a broader conception. It's one is predominantly used, that is attraction between male female, that is true, but lust has other softer or other dimensions also, and all of them can cause person's downfall. Now, because they will force a person to act in a way in which they should not be acting, and thereby they can degrade. They can actually get degraded from their elevated position. In the sixth chapter, it's all about mind. Krishna is speaking elaborately about the mind, and starting from the fifth verse, Krishna says that mind is a tool using which you should elevate yourself, deliver yourself with the help of mind, and not degrade yourself with the help of mind. Mind is a friend of a conditioned soul and is enemy as well. So mind is like a weapon in the hand of a surgeon. It is a friendly weapon. It is his friend, because surgeon can perform surgery and get patient cured. But in the hand of a thief or a murderer, uh, it becomes his enemy, because now a thief can murder somebody, take away life of someone for want of small money. Or so mind is like that. My mind is like an instrument, and one should decide what we are going to do with our mind. Mind is there. For Krishna further elaborates that the for one who has conquered the mind, mind is his best friend, and the one who has failed to do so, mind remains to be greatest enemy. Example can be taken that of an elephant. If elephant is tamed and trained, elephant can carry on his back deities of Radha Madhav, or people can go. Elephant can be engaged in doing heavy work, lifting logs, and working in the jungle in conditions where humans can find it really difficult to work. Elephants can be used. Elephants is so mighty, so powerful. But if they are trained, and they can become your best friend. They can be used for serving, making our purposes served. However, the same elephant, if he becomes uncontrolled, and if he start acting whimsically, start running here and there, start walking into fields and destroying farm, start walking into start running on the road, trampling people under his feet, destroying cars, throwing things here and there, that elephant becomes uncontrollable, and the elephant becomes greatest enemy. The same elephant, which if controlled can be so friendly, can be so useful, can become completely enemy, become the biggest enemy. And then those kind of elephants are actually shot dead by people, because they can cause havoc in the city. They can destroy the whole city, and they are so powerful. Nobody can fight an elephant or a mad elephant. So our mind is like that. Mind can if mind is a if mind is regulated, if mind is trained properly, controlled properly, regulated properly, mind can become our best friend. But if you let our mind loose, if you let our uh, mind and the constituents of mind do whatever they feel like, then they become our greatest enemy and can cause the biggest disaster in our life. The one who has conquered the mind, the super soul is already reached. So mind has to be conquered. Now Krishna is speaking the language of a war. He's standing on the war battlefield, so he's talking in terms of enemy conquering the mind. So mind has to be jitatmanaha prashantasya. Jitatmanaha means it's a battle to be won by everyone. It's not given that if you do this, everything will be all right. Everyone has to fight battle with their mind, and it's not a one-time battle. It is a continuous battle. So mind has to be kept in check all the time. It's no there is no easy taking on that as far as mind is concerned. So we have to be always cautious. It's like it's like It's like the putting a tiger to sleep, but always remaining cautious that he's end of the day tiger. If you pinch a sleeping tiger, thinking that he is dead, and if he happens to be sleeping, then he will wake up, and then he will not pinch you back. He will devour you, he will eat you up, he will destroy you. So mind is like that. We can't take mind for granted. Even though he may become our friend, we always need to be cautious. And that's what Krishna is explaining to Arjuna in the 26th verse. Krishna speaks this beautiful verse where wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature. Now this is nature of mind. Just like the nature of sugar is to be sweet, the nature of salt is to be salty. Similarly, nature of mind is to be flickering and unsteady. Now, these two are characteristics of mind. So mind will always be like that. And hence, we should always be cautious while dealing with our mind. So one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under control of the self. So we will never have a situation. It's not a 0-1 situation that our mind is in our control. Uh, our mind is not in our control. It's always gray. It will always have a gray in our situation. Our situation will always have gray. It's not never black and white. It's not 0-1. So that's why we have to be always cautious. And at the moment, for a moment, we may feel mind is in our control. For the next moment, we may feel mind is not in our control. Mind is distracting us, taking us somewhere where we don't want to go. It could be an exam time and the match is going on, the television in the neighboring home we are able to hear, and then mind is pushing you, go watch the score, 2 मिनट देख क्या, 15 मिनट देख क्या, कुछ नहीं होगा, एग्जाम का तो रेडी है, सब प्रिपेयर तो किया हुआ है, कुछ नहीं होगा, कोई नहीं देखेगा, किसी को नहीं पता चलेगा, जाके देख क्या. And it can trouble different people in different ways. Now this can be a trouble for a student. uh, for an alcoholic person, the trouble will be to regulate his alcohol consumption. For a smoker, it will be regulating his smoking. He may want to give up smoking, but smoking is not giving up him now. So every now and then he get urged to go and smoke. Go on the terrace and smoke. Nobody will see. Go in the basement and smoke. Nobody will watch. Go in the toilet and smoke. Nobody will anyway come to know. And so and so forth. So different urges will come to from within, which will eventually may force a person to take up smoking even after giving up. Somebody said giving up smoking is very easy. I have done it over 100 times. What it means is it's actually never achieved. The purpose is never achieved. Want to give up smoking by knowing all its ill effects, but you're not able to give up, and that requires very 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 strong mind and determination. Chanchalam hi mana Krishna. Beautiful verse again, the 34th verse. Arjuna is saying that, oh Krishna, my mind is chanchala and he's pramathi, he's like a mad, turbulent and obstinate. Balavat drudham. Drudham is very strong. Very balavat is very, very strong. And drudham means obstinate. It doesn't listen to me so easily. It's not like controlling Krishna was easy. Arjuna would tell Krishna turn left and he would turn his chariot on the left hand side, but he says mind is not that easy. Controlling my mind is very difficult. It's very obstinate. At times it has its own agenda. I'm asking him to do something. Tomorrow is my exam, please study, and mind has his own agenda. Go watch match. I want to watch match. How can mind has his own agenda? He has to support me, he has to help me in whatever my objective is. My objective is to study and appear for exam tomorrow, but mind can have his own agenda, and he can forcibly drag a person out of home and go and sit in front of TV and watch match. And this is a very simple example. But it can become very complex and very very troublesome at times, when the same desire is for for a lusty person for indulging in sexual activity, for an alcoholic person consuming alcohol, for a smoker in smoking, and for a drug addict in taking consuming drug, for a money-minded person to earn more money, for a respect expecting person to get more respect, and if we don't get it, feel insulted and then go mad behind people, those who insulted him. So it can become very complex and can shape the next dynamics in a very in a way that we don't want it to be. And hence it's extremely important for all of us to learn about this particular, this very important organ of ours. Krishna says, yes, asamshayam hi mahabaho mana durnigraha chalam. That's true. Mana is durnigraha. Mana is is very difficult to curb the restless mind. It's chanchalam, and that's true. It's very difficult to control, but you can do it. You can do it. Why? How? Vairagyena cha and abhyasena. Abhyas is by practice with determination, and vairagya is by detachment, by getting detached to the objects. 15th verse, 9th, 15th chapter, 9th verse, Krishna actually describe how the mind is constituted. Mind is constituted is like a palm of our hand, and with the covered by 5 senses all around, and that is how, using those 5 senses, mind try to enjoy a particular sense object. So these were some of the verses, some of the important verses about mind we have picked up from Bhagavad Gita. What we'll do now is we'll go through a brief presentation about the functioning of mind again. And we'll try to analyze our mind a little bit more. And as I said, you can keep all your questions for later part, and we can discuss them towards the end. What can we make out from this image? This is mind. This is our mind. What first thought comes to our mind when we see this image?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Complexity.
The
Confused mind.
complex.
Yeah, that's true.
The
It's complex. Very true. I'll just mute everyone's. So let's understand, ourselves a little bit more. So this is who we are, and so there is a soul. There is a soul which has this 3 features of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. Soul is eternal. Soul has all knowledgeable, and soul wants to get more knowledge, and soul wants bliss. Soul wants ananda, Satchit Ananda. So the 3 qualities which are associated with Krishna are also associated with soul. And you can see the screen now? Hare
yes,
Krishna?
Prabhuji.
Yes,
Yeah,
Prabhuji.
I think momentarily, I think it got disconnected. Okay, so we are describing the soul. Soul has these 3 characteristics. Soul is eternal. Soul has all knowledgeable. It wants to know things, and soul is all blissful. Soul wants to be happy. Satchit Ananda. These are inseparable characteristics of soul. Just like just like sweetness cannot be separated from sugarcane or sugar. Similarly, these characters are inbuilt characteristics of soul. So Satchit Ananda. Soul is covered by our subtle body. Now, subtle body includes mind and intelligence and false ego. False ego is the ego. We always have ego. The correct ego is we are servants of Krishna. We are part and parcel of Krishna, and we should love and serve Krishna. False ego is we are this body. and we should enjoy. We should try and enjoy with the body. So that's a false identification, the bodily identification. So so all that sits is that's called a subtle body. So this subtle body is covering the soul. The first covering of soul is that of a subtle body. And around subtle body is the gross body, which we can feel, which we can see and touch, and which is made up of the 5 elements of nature, that is earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Now the soul is covered by the, so this is also can be we can also give an analogy of that of a computer system. The soul is the user of the computer system. The the mind, intelligence, and ego are like a softwares of the computer system, which are not visible. And hardware is the external body. The external body is compared with the hardware. The mind and intelligence are compared with software, and soul is the user. The user is supposed to use mind and intelligence and the hardware to take him to a in the direction where he wants to go, he or she wants to go. So that is the appropriate position of the soul. But what happens is actually quite different. Yeah. So mind in its original state is like Ganga water originating from its source, or water coming from clouds, or the rainwater coming from clouds. So in its original form, it is very pure. But as it reaches the ground, as the rainwater comes from the cloud and touches the ground, it becomes muddy. It gets in contact with the mud and it becomes muddy. And that's what happens with ourself when we in its original state. Even mind is pure like Ganga water, but impurities or the desire to enjoy Krishna's property without Krishna, that pollutes one's mind. And the pure mind is a friend, impure mind is an enemy. That's how that's a simple way to understand this. These desires, when these desires are fulfilled, they lead to more desire. It doesn't end there. The one desire getting fulfilled leads to multiple other desires, and hankering increases, the greed increases, lust increases, and you just want more and more and more. When desires are not fulfilled, they lead to anger and downfall. If desire is no, the 2.62 and 63 verse, we have often seen that ध्यायतो शयान पुंसः संगस्तेषु उपजायते संगत संजयाते कामः कामात् क्रोधो विजायते क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोह सम्मोहात् स्मृति विभ्रमः स्मृति भ्रंशात् बुद्धिनाशो बुद्धिनाश प्रणश्यति. So it leads to complete downfall of a person from a very elevated, even from a very elevated position. And we just saw that lust doesn't just mean male-female attraction or enjoying mentality of opposite sex. Lust can also have other dimensions, and that makes the matter more complicated. Any desire will lead to not fulfilled, will lead to downfall. Any desire fulfilled will lead to more desire, hankering for more. In both situations, our hankering increases, our and whatever we get may not really be satisfying, and that increases our that brings frustration. So the lamentation is guaranteed in either situation. The lamentation, jo dukh dono suffering or dono conditions mein aayegi. Even if some desires get fulfilled or some desires don't get fulfilled, both will lead to lamentation and misery. So that is guaranteed. Any effort to get enjoyment, get happiness from a sense object will lead to lamentation for sure. that is guaranteed. So the process of cleaning mind should lead to mind making only proper desire. What is a proper desire? We understand from scripture that proper desire is to love and serve Krishna, and everything else is impure desire. Everything else, if it is not in supporting this primary objective, then it's impurity, and it will lead to lamentation, guaranteed lamentation. This is in simple language, the simple terms, the Krishna consciousness process. Now let's understand how mind functions. The functioning of mind, how does that happen? The soul, we've seen that the soul, the first covering is that of mind and intelligence. So soul is in touch with mind and intelligence all the time. Our soul, that's the first covering that soul possesses. Soul radiates consciousness outwards in our body. When the souls enter the body, it will radiates its consciousness. And this mind and intelligence is common. We've had the same mind and same intelligence in our previous life as well. So whenever soul travels from one body to another body, it carries along with it its mind and intelligence. And thereby it has that, so this covering, soul has never left this covering. Soul has always possessed this covering. And so soul has got used to this particular mind and this particular intelligence. And so soul easily interact, उनका competency है अच्छी से, so they are easily able to interact with each other. And then soul radiates its consciousness outwards, just like a bulb gives light outwards. Similarly, this soul's consciousness goes outwards, and it first come in contact with the subtle body, that is mind and intelligence. Now using the subtle body is the only route that soul possesses to reach out to the world outside, because soul may have a desire to enjoy mango, but but it has to route it's this consciousness of enjoying a mango through mind and intelligence. So when this desire comes, then mind will immediately get activated, intelligence will make arrangement, mind will direct the senses and to reach out for the mango and consume mango using your tongue, and give that satisfaction to the soul. Now, so the soul actually uses the mind and intelligence to satisfy its desires of enjoying sense objects in this material world. This is how a soul functions and interact and perceive the world around. And the chariot example, where the five senses are like five horses, and mind is the reins, and the buddhi is the chariot driver, and the passenger is the soul. If soul wish to go in a particular direction, it should exercise proper control over the chariot driver, who should have knowledge how to control the horses using the reins. He's not going to go and talk to each horse individually, but he will control the reins in such a way that horses will understand what to do, what not to do, where to go, where to focus their energies. And that is how journey can be completed for a soul. The soul's journey in the material world is to finally attain Krishna and go back to Krishna. And that can happen provided the soul is able to control buddhi, sharpen the buddhi, and the buddhi then is able to control the reins, the mind, who in turn will control our senses. If any one of this link is broken, our journey is broken and journey cannot be completed. We've seen this verse, 67th verse of second chapter, that even one roaming senses on which mind focuses can can draw away a person's intelligence. So the mind control is essential. Mind control is all essential, because all of us have mind. All of us have mind of our own. And hence this knowledge of how to control, how to regulate mind is essential for all of us if we wish to attain anything in our life, even at a material level or at a spiritual level, the controlling or the regulating of mind is essential, is necessary, is must. Hence this knowledge is so critical, so important to anyone and everyone. What should be the role of mind? Mind should be strong enough to tolerate the demands of the senses and yet engage them in the right activity. So the senses, the horses by nature, they are they want to go here and there. And mind should not, if all five horses want to go in five different directions, mind shouldn't let that happen. Mind should still, the push will come from a horse. Horse will, want to, even if your mind wants to take horses straight, one horse on the right hand side will, will push or will try to pull the chariot on the right hand side. And but mind has to then control the reins in such a way that the horse remain on he remains in on the right path. He doesn't, if he wants to go, just because he wants to go, he's a pulling, one horse is pulling on the right hand side, one horse is pulling on the left hand side. If mind is weak, they will let both of them go in two directions, and then you will be left with just three horses. Now that will be a very bad position. So a mind should be strong enough to, the urges will come, urges of, different engagements will come from all five sides, all five senses will demand different things, but mind should be strong enough to check the same and control the same and still keep them going in the right direction where mind wants to take them to, where intelligence wants them to go, where soul wants to go ultimately. And that is the role of mind, not to satisfy senses but to satisfy intelligence, who in turn can satisfy the soul. Ultimately mind and intelligence are servants of soul, and it's not the other way around, that soul is not servant of mind and senses are servant of mind. So this relationship has to be properly understood and should be properly executed. Mind is a subtle muscle which needs to be purified to develop strength. If mind has to be become strong, then there has to be different type of activities that need to be done to strengthen the mind. The essential of mind. Let's understand this, analyze this mind a little bit more, a deeper understanding of mind. Our mind is a mind possesses a lot of things. Mind is not simple. It's very complex in nature to understand. All desires sit in our mind. All desire to enjoy are there in our mind. The desire to possess, desire to control, desire to own, the proprietorship, all those desires are sitting inside our mind. And so these are all nudges that will come from within, that saying that do this, do that, or enjoy this, enjoy that, possess this, let's have that. iPhone 14 has come, I've seen that, and let's have it, I want to have it. Now let's buy more land, let's buy more, let's buy one more home, let's have third home in place, let's have fourth home in place, let's control more, let me let me become the minister, let me become the controller, let me become the owner, let me become the MLA, MP, let me become the king of this whole planet. The desire to rule, desire to control, desire to possess, desire to enjoy, they all sit inside our mind. Modes sits inside our mind as well. The three modes in which we operate generally are sattva guna, rajoguna, or tamoguna, or they are called goodness, passion, or ignorance. They all are sitting inside our mind. As soon as the desire pops up, the modes take over and they drive the everything else. The modes are also subtle things. Anartha sits inside our mind. The lust, the anger, these are emotions basically, and different emotions. They come because when the desire is fulfilled or unfulfilled, either case, it leads to certain emotions, and those emotions are stored inside our mind in form of anarthas. The lust is anartha, greed is anartha, hankering. Anger is anartha, attachment, envy, fear. When we possess everything, we become fearful of losing it. When we have nothing else to lose, also we can lose our body, we can lose our life. So So those attachments, the fear, they all become anarthas, and they are also stored inside our mind. Past impressions are also stored inside our mind. In past, we would have indulged in sense gratification. We would have enjoyed certain type of food. We would have we would have enjoyed certain types of activities. We would have watched movies. We would have watched cricket matches, or would have done things which we now consider are harmful for spiritual life, spiritual progress. But we in past we might have done those activities, and the memories and the impressions of those enjoyments remains in our mind. The experience of happiness, distress that we got from those indulgences, those are stored inside our mind. Hearing about sense enjoyment from others, they make impressions in our mind as well. So therefore sometimes it is said that associating with women more, what can be more dangerous than that is associating with those people who talk about women all the time, or the opposite sex all the time. And so that association is worst than directly associating it with women. But because you will, this kind of a discussion will never let you go off, or never let you go off away from that desire, will always keep you bound there, and hence it's most dangerous. So hearing about sense enjoyment from others, that's also create impression and can lead to desires ultimately, and then desires kicking in mode and modes, when they are fulfilled, not fulfilled, lead to anarthas. Watching others engage in sense enjoyment, now case of Ajamil, now he didn't got himself into the sense enjoyment, but he saw a prostitute enjoying with her lover, and in the jungle, in the middle of a jungle, and his mind became impure. His mind got bewildered by that one, just by seeing that one image or one event. So watching others engage in sense enjoyment also leads to harmful desires getting triggered. The recommendations from those whom we respect, whom we love, whom we idealize ourselves, they are our idols. And if they recommend us, say, somebody might have some film star recommending that how cool they look when they take some pan masala, or which contains some tobacco, or may or may or not contain tobacco, but it's a pan masala, some kind of a smoking cigarette, or alcohol, or something of that sort. When they recommend it, and if we happen to like that particular personality in the food, movies, in their social work, in their sports field, or in films in general, somehow we have developed some connection with that person. And if that person recommends something that I, whenever I'm in stress, I smoke this particular cigarette, I feel very happy, I become very happy. Or whenever I'm in I wear this particular garment, I feel very happy, or whatever that they are advertising for. And so when that recommendation come from those people whom we respect, whom we love, whom we idealize ourselves, that can also trigger desires in us to engage in those activities more. The input which comes from senses is also stored in mind. The eyes, the ear, nose, skin, touch, or tongue, uh, where these five senses are constantly providing us different inputs, and they're all coming to the mind. So mind is this whole thing, and it's very, very complex. So what Mahaprabhu recommends is Cheto Darpana Marjanam Bhava Maha Dava Kande Nirvapanam. That cleaning of the mirror of mind is essential. Otherwise, this is he's comparing it to Davagni. Mahadavagni. Davagni is forest fire, and Mahadavagni is great forest fire. It's not ordinary fire that you lit for warming your hand in the winter season. It's a jungle. The whole jungle has been caught fire, and it's not a small jungle. It's a huge jungle. And what it can does practically is it can destroy our existence. It can destroy, derail us from the purpose for which we are driving to. So जहां हम जा रहे हैं वहां से हमको वो distract कर सकता है completely. So cleaning the mirror of mind is essential, cleaning the mirror. However, it's not easy because mind is subtle organ, as we saw. So cleaning has to be done in the also using the techniques which are different than what you would otherwise use, because mind is not a physical matter. For mind is not a physical muscle. So mind, sometimes we use mind like a window to perceive the world as it is. So when the soul interacts with mind and mind show what's there. Suppose it's like open the window, you go to your window, open the window, and then just see, perceive the things which are outside, that it's sunny, bright sunny outside, the breeze is there, the shadows are there, the movements are there, some people are walking here and there, children are playing. Then we are seeing, the perceiving the world outside as it is, and then you are making mind, the soul is making sense of what soul is seeing, what he's seeing through mind, and the mind is using eyes to perceive the reality, to ears to hear the noises which come from outside, nose to smell the wind, can be there. Wind can have three characteristics. Wind has a speed that that and that that slowly breeze is when it's very windy, when it's the wind blow very fast, it's not very enjoyable. But slowly blowing wind is enjoyable. Wind can be sheetal, can be cool, and can have fragrance. So the nose can smell the fragrance of that wind. If it's there is a garden nearby, the wind will carry a nice fragrance. Skin will feel that it's blowing in a nice way, or it's a very cyclonic way. The wind in cyclone can blow very fast, and that might not be very pleasant. So the sense can perceive that, the skin can perceive that aspect. So this way, the soul can interact with the world outside, using our mind as a window. Now here, mind is actually showing what exists outside. It's not interpreting anything. But soul can also use mind like a TV screen. TV screen is when I might be sitting in a classroom, but I might have come to the office, but suddenly I'm sitting in a meeting where my boss is talking, but suddenly I remember whether I get a doubt in my mind whether I have the gas बंद किया है कि नहीं किया है, और घर proper से lock किया है कि नहीं किया है. Now, even though I'm sitting in a meeting and my boss is talking, my ears are trying to hear whatever the words which comes out of my boss. My mind can take myself to my home, and I may sit in the meeting, but I may, in my mind, can take me back to home, and where I'm trying to imagine how I left home. Did I really switched off the light and the gas connection and locked the door? Did all that properly? I'm just trying to rewind myself and go back home and relive those moments to understand, did I really missed out on locking the door? Did I really missed out on switching off the lights or the gas? Or is there anything? Now, physically I might be present in the office meeting, but in the mind I'm playing some other movie. In my mind, on the screen of my mind, I'm seeing my home, and I'm going through the rooms where I generally travel before I exit the home. And so in the mind, he's completely showing a different movie. Now, this can be one example. There could be multiple such examples where our mind, we may watch, we may see a girl, and our mind can create a movie inside our head where we are shown enjoying with that girl or with that man, and that can play. So these are all movies which are played by mind based on our imagination, based on our desires and imagination. So mind can be used by soul to play a movie. It's like now, even though my eyes should perceive reality, if I'm sitting in the office meeting, my eyes should perceive the meeting room, should show me the other colleagues who are sitting in the meeting, should also show me my boss who is probably talking. My ears are supposed to hear what my boss is speaking and other colleagues are responding. It may be my turn to respond as well, but my mind is playing some other movie. And if in that case, around that time, if my boss asks me a question, I may not even hear it. Now boss will ask me, where are you? And then I might just break my samadhi and ask him, okay, what happened? But he said, all this while you are here, why you couldn't hear? Then you'll say, no, in my mind I was somewhere else. So in my, what happens in this case, the mind is playing a movie, some other movie than what's the reality outside is. Now that can, mind can do that very well with us. This verse we saw that five senses are grouped around palm, just like five fingers are grouped around this palm. Similarly, five senses are grouped around this mind, and the mind is like a palm who's constantly getting input from these senses. So mind is constantly getting input about various sense objects from all five senses, from five sides. How the input received, mind may choose to focus on that one aspect where it is more attached to. Now my eyes may see five different things, but whatever is my attachment, whatever is, so if I am a money minded person, I will see, I may, while walking on the road, there are various things. But if I'm money minded person, I will see which bank is giving me highest rate of interest. That thing which the eyes are seeing many things, but there is Bollywood poster, there's a new um, image, there's a picture hoarding of a politician congratulating a politician. There is another hoarding saying that who is visiting Mumbai next, G20 meeting, and all leaders, world leaders are visiting. Then there is a movie holding, and then there is a, there are sports match happening next week in Mumbai, some contest, music contest happening, or music concert happening. So the one poster could be that. While walking, I can see all that, but my mind doesn't focus. Mind will focus on that thing where I am attached to focus. So if suppose I'm a money minded person, my mind will, my eyes will see this one board, or it could be small poster also, which is saying that so and so bank is going to give you 8% interest, annual interest on the fixed deposit. Now out of everything else that my eyes are seeing, my mind will mind will focus on this one small object, which where my attachment is. Similarly, if a music lover will find the music related poster more interesting, that so and so concert is happening in Mumbai next week, and then he will start inquiring when it's, where it's happening, is it free, is it chargeable, what will be the charges, what are the timings, what is the day, is that day he's available. Then all those subsequent steps will follow, trigger. So what I'm trying to say is there could be input coming from all directions, but mind may not really choose to focus on each and every input that comes to us. It will focus on that input on which, to which we have attachment, and we all have certain attachments. Some could be health conscious, some could be money conscious, some could be um, some would be far more lusty than others, some will be far more foodie than others. So they will see the advertisement which talks about food festival somewhere, or the new restaurant going to, which is launching and giving you discounts. So that news will catch more attention than any other news. The others may follow, but this one will get primary focus because of our attachment. Now the attachments, how does attachments get formed? They get formed from past intelligences. And so thus so we have all the impressions of all our indulgences, whatever we have done in this life as well as in past lives. These are all stored in our mind. And so it's said that and it's unimaginable how much data we store in our mind. What is accessible to us right now could be a very small amount of data. Some of us may not remember what we ate for last night dinner or morning breakfast also, but that does not change the fact that everything is stored inside our mind. Everything exists in our mind. Mind, our ability to retrieve can be limited, but everything exists in the mind. It's like a clerk signing into the banking system may not have access to a lot of data. Depending on his grade, he will have limited data on the available data visibility on the server. But that doesn't mean that nothing else exists on the server. when the CEO logs into the same server, he will see 100 other things, 1,000 other things. Similarly, our mind, we may be able to use only a fraction of our mind. Our mind contains tons and tons and tons of data in reality, and that's how uh, that's the reality. And so these impressions, the attachments get formed from those impressions and those intelligences. So it's like a compared to the control room where mind is a user, and he's receiving input from all sides, and then he's choosing to focus. So a security guard, alert security guard will focus on that camera where he thinks something suspicious activity happening. Though he may be seeing things coming from all directions, and you may have hundreds of cameras, but he will focus his attention on that one screen where he finds something suspicious. Similarly, our mind focuses on that aspect where mind has some attachment to it. Cleaning the mind means cleaning the impressions, images, and experiences of material sense enjoyment. Now, we cannot make our mind empty because we cannot delete our history. Our history exists and those impressions also exist. So removing those impressions out, throwing them out is an impossible task. And we cannot like that. If one is trying to get his mind empty, this is impossible. This cannot happen. So, but what can happen is we can fill our mind with spiritual impressions, because the latest impressions stay on the surface. And if you if you if you fill your mind with spiritual impressions, which you get by engaging in spiritual activity, by visiting temple, if your eyes need impression, and in past your eyes have taken impressions by watching Bollywood movie, by watching porn movies. Now when you go to temple, when you take darshan of Lord, and when you see devotees, when you sit in the kirtan, when you sing kirtan, when you take prasad, these are all, when you go to dham, visit dham, and serve devotees, serve Lord by engaging in physical activities. Now, this is way you're creating spiritual impressions for yourself. And when the time is right, whenever we have opportunity, we should very, very intensely, we should engage in the spiritual activity so that those impressions become stronger and stronger, and they push our material impressions deeper and deeper. The material impressions will never go away, but they can be whitewashed. They can be covered by the spiritual impressions so much that they will exist, but they will not pop up. They will not pop up. So it's like painting a wall with currently the current paint is very bad. And but I may start painting white color. So current paint is a yellow, and I may paint white. Now initially it will not become white because the yellow has not gone completely. But if I keep adding coat after coat after coat after coat of white paint, eventually it will become white, and the yellow will stain itself will go. So similarly, our material impressions will not go away. Our history we cannot redo. We cannot relive our history. We cannot change our history. Whatever has we have done in past, we have done in past. We should stop doing those things in again, so that we stop bringing in fresh impressions in our mind. We stop providing our mind with fresh impressions. That is to be done. That is what will be ensured by the 4 regulatory principles that we follow in the spiritual life. That we don't indulge into illicit sex. We don't eat meat. We don't take intoxication, and we don't get into gambling. So by stop doing these things, we are um, we are making an attempt to, we are not in creating a newer impressions for our mind. And now we are indulging into japa. Now we are indulging into only into taking prasad. Now we visit only temples. We see lords. We see take darshan of Lord. We see devotees. We hear kirtan. We chant Mahamantra. We sing in kirtan. Our hands we use for playing kartal. Our hands we use for playing mridanga, and we use our legs for walking in the Govardhan Parikrama, visiting Vrindavan Dham, visiting Mayapur Dham. Now we are creating spiritual impressions for our mind, the newer impressions. And as long as our mind does not get fresh material inputs and get a lot of spiritual inputs, now this is an easy way to clean the wall of our mind, clean the impurity, remove the impurities from our mind. And this is possible by primarily hearing and chanting about Krishna and associating with devotees. So this is what the Krishna consciousness process is all about. Arjuna, one of the verse says that he can control the wind, but controlling mind is very difficult. So, because mind is chanchala, flickering, it's like a child. Mind is often compared to a child or a monkey. Monkey is never doesn't sit steadily. Small child doesn't become steady. It's not steady. It's always flickering in nature. It's one moment it want to sit down, the next moment you want to get up and run, and another moment it wants to go left, another moment it wants to go right. Child moves like that. That's the nature. It's a flickering. Monkey is that's why mind is also compared to monkey mind, and because of its flickering nature primarily, never focus on one object. It keep jumping from one object to another object. Pramathi is agitating like mad. We saw example of elephant. That elephant, if it's trained, can be used very well in our service. But if the same elephant becomes mad, becomes very dangerous for the whole society. And people will shot that elephant dead if he becomes mad and start destroying villages and communities. Also, the another example Radhesham Prabhuji gives is very beautiful example, that of a dam and a flood. Now, the dam, flood is destroying. Flood is a devastating when it comes. But the same water, when stored in a dam, and occasionally that dam water is released based on the need, that same dam water can become very, very useful for producing electricity, for farming, for providing water to the people all throughout the year. So Pramathi is like, it's up to us what we do with our mind. We make it mad, then mind will drag us down, take us to hell for sure. And if it's trained properly, regulated properly, then it can become very, very useful. Balavat, mind is very strong. Mind is very strong. Just that's why it's compared to an elephant. The elephant is very strong. Now it's impossible to control the elephant if he becomes mad. But if the same a strong elephant is trained and you become friend of that elephant, or elephant becomes your friend. I mean, elephant can be so useful for you. And that can be used for your own good. Dridham is obstinate. It's very determined, very difficult to convince, but we must learn how to do that. And that's how, because if we fail to do that, there will be all loss to us. If we can do that, there will be all profit to us. And hence we must we must try and control our mind in some way or the other. It is said that when you are trying to control the wild horse, initially you can control, but once horse become really wild, it starts running in all directions in full speed and force, then it becomes very difficult to control. In the initial time, when you see the glimpses of horse going off the track, you can control him easily. But the later we try to control the horse, the difficult it becomes for us to control. So it's again, our mind, that's what Prahlad Maharaj says, start Krishna consciousness process from the age of 5. So Prabhuji says many times that whatever is your age minus 5, If you have just come to Krishna consciousness, you are that many years late to Krishna consciousness. You should have come these many years early. You should have started Krishna consciousness process earlier than this. From the age of 5, you should become Krishna conscious. That's the standard Prahlad Maharaj has set, and it's accepted by all devotees. Prabhupada says nicely in the one of the purport to verse 6.34 that intelligence is supposed to direct the mind, but the mind is so strong and obstinate that it often overcomes even one's own intelligence, as an acute infection may surpass the efficacy of the medicine. Such a strong mind is supposed to be controlled by the practice of yoga, but such practice is never practical for a worldly person like Arjuna. Now, what can then we say for modern man? Now, this particular verse come in Dhyana Yoga section of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna is explaining that how by using the Ashtanga Yoga techniques you can attain Krishna. Prabhupada is refuting that even Arjuna, it was impossible for Arjuna to do it. Then what to speak of modern man? He has no chance. So one cannot capture the blowing wind, and it is even more difficult to capture the turbulent mind. The easiest way to control the mind, as suggested by Lord Chaitanya, is chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, the great mantra for deliverance in all humility. So chanting mantra in all humility. Now both these are important. We must chant. How? In humility. If we don't chant, we have no hope. If we don't chant in humility, again we will not be, it will not be very beneficial. So we must cultivate humility first and then chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra in that mood, in that prayerful mood. Krishna agrees with Arjuna, but still insists that it is possible to control the mind by practice or diligence and detachment. So next verse, Krishna emphasizes on the need for mind control for attaining any success. He goes on to mention that a proper process need to be followed for success. Whole the 6th chapter he revolves around mind and discusses why and how of the mind control. How does sense, the 4 steps in sense enjoyment, the biggest trouble mind get is by the demand that comes from the senses. The senses of, so how does that happen? So let's understand that the sense object perception. Sense objects are perceived by the senses. So for example, eyes may see a beautiful sari, or a man can see a beautiful watch in a shop, and what then our mind can do to us is, if that happens to be the object of our attachment, the mind will create impressions, create imagery, create a movie. It will play an instant movie in our mind, showing us how we will enjoy if we were to get that particular object, if we were to buy that particular sari or shirt or wear a watch or a blazer, whatever, or a particular jewelry. If our eyes get attached to that, then mind creates a movie and instantly play it in our mind, on the screen of our mind, that how we will enjoy. It's a promise of potential enjoyment, that if I were to buy this jewelry today, I will wear this, then I will look so beautiful. I will go here, I will go there. So many people will see it, they will appreciate it, they will ask me from where I purchased it, and so on and so forth. And this can become the trigger. This is a trigger because now my eyes have seen the object, and my mind has created a movie of how I will enjoy that object if I were to possess it now, right now. And this creates a urge to possess that object. So that's a desire to pleasure. Now this object could be anything. This object could be, as we saw in case of Durvasa Muni, respect, honor, and it could be physical, it could be subtle in nature, but those objects of attachment exist for all of us, and we want pleasure out of those as well. And when we get that object, we want to then actually indulge into the sense object, and that's how that this is the process in which our mind first see the object. It creates a imagery or play a movie in our mind saying how we will enjoy that object, that triggers the desire and creates a strong urge to possess that or enjoy that, and then we actually enjoy. So in this, the first step, when the sense object is perceived, it is easier to reject it. Just going back to the horse example, in the first step, when we see, we can turn our eyes away. If somehow we can turn our eyes away, then it's easier. The next three steps will not follow, because we are not letting our mind to create that movie of potential enjoyment and play it inside our mind. And because if that happens, and if my soul gets attached to that movie, that yes, I will enjoy so much after wearing this shirt, after wearing this sari, after wearing this jewelry, then it becomes, then it's like horse picking up speed when running madly. And then, more we allow, more we delay the controlling of horse, more it becomes difficult for us to control actually. And eventually it becomes just impossible, so we just give in. So the earlier we can shift our attention, the easier it is to control the intelligence. So intelligence need to be very sharp to be able to exercise control over the mind and turn the sense objects somewhere else, so that we don't focus too much on that particular object. A desire develop and become stronger is like a mad horse started running in full speed. Hence, controlling becomes more difficult at later stage. So desire plus emotion is equal to difficult for intelligence to handle. Whatever is the most of our desire, most of our decisions are emotional decisions. They are not rational decisions. Most of the time we end up buying things which we don't want, because of our emotions getting attached to it, because we have already done step 1 and step 2 and step 3. The 3 steps have already happened, and they can happen very fast. They can happen for a very, very small thing, for a chocolate that we see. Now we are not supposed to eat sweet, or I may put on weight. I may have 100 reasons in my intelligence, stored in my intelligence, for me not eating chocolate today. However, if I don't check my myself early enough, then the step 1, 2, 3 can quickly take place inside my mind, and then I may get a unrefutable urge to purchase the chocolate and eat it. It's like horse picking up full speed, and then it's impossible to control. One important comparison of happiness, spiritual happiness and material happiness, very interesting, that we can see. On the left hand side, we have the verse 5.22 verse. Yehi samsparshaja bhoga dukha yonaya evate adya adya anta eti konteya na teshu ramate buddha. That anybody who's desiring to get some happiness by indulging in sense enjoyment, by samsparshaja, by touching, by eating, by smelling, by by enjoying sense object, the physical sense object, material sense object, they're actually this desire itself is pregnated with misery. Dukkha yonaya evate. Yonaya is as if it is impregnated. It's just a matter of time when they will suffer misery. That any desire to enjoy matter is impregnated with misery, because misery is guaranteed for such desire. It's only a question of when they will suffer. It's not the question of if they will suffer. It's a question of when they will suffer. Why? Because it has a beginning and end. Adya anta vanta konteya na teshu ramate buddha. It has a beginning and end. End means at the end again it will be lost. So when it will be lost, that will lead to lamentation. The lamentation is guaranteed. Misery is guaranteed. For uh, any our desire to enjoy in the material world is impregnated with misery. That's what Krishna says in the 5.22 verse. In 6.28 verse, in contrast to this, very fascinating, very interesting. Krishna says that enjoyment sought by establishing contact of soul with Krishna by following 9 processes of bhakti. This is called Yehi. The verse says that Atyantika Sukha Ashnute. That once you soul, when it connects with the super soul, and that leads to happiness. That leads to what kind of happiness? Atyantika Sukham Ashnute. That it gives unlimited happiness it can provide you with. So as a comparative chart, we can say that enjoyment in the first case, enjoyment is sought by contacting bodily senses with the sense object, and compared to 6.28, where we can see that enjoyment is sought by establishing contact of soul with Krishna by following one of the 9 or all of the 9 processes of devotional service led by Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam, etc. What is the quantity? Now, the happiness, there exists happiness because this material energy is also energy of Krishna. It's not independent of Krishna. So it has capacity to give us some happiness. It's not no happiness completely, but it can give you very small happiness. Antavantu, it's Krishna says that it is limited and it will get over very quickly. And so the small happiness, but lots of miseries because of hankering and lamentation. Even if we get that what we desired, we will have more desire to become greed will increase and hankering will increase. And when we get what we want, we may not really get it the way we want it. It might not meet all our expectation. Even if it meets all our expectation, it will get over eventually. Even if that doesn't get over, we will get over because our time on this planet will end, and then we will have to give away everything. So either case, there is a lamentation that is waiting for us to hit. And even if we don't get it at all, then lamentation is immediate. If we get it, lamentation can be delayed, but we cannot escape lamentation. So there is a hankering and lamentation. As compared to that, 6.28, the spiritual enjoyment, such enjoyments, if we start taking pleasure in serving Krishna in one of those or all of those 9 processes of bhakti, by following these 9 processes of bhakti, and if we derive enjoyment from those processes by chanting, if we imagine by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, if we feel happy, if we becomes happy by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, there will be no situation in this world, no moment in this world when we cannot become happy. We can always be happy. We can be perpetually happy. And because at no point we can stop chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. We can chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra practically in every situation and every condition. So if we start deriving happiness from following these processes of bhakti, 9 processes of bhakti, then the enjoyment that we get is Atyantika Sukha, or perfect happiness, best happiness. And how much quantity? Quantity wise, this happiness is like an ocean. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Anandam Ambudhi. Ambudhi means ocean. Ananda is like an ocean. Ambudhi Vardhanam. Vardhanam means it's increasing ocean, ever increasing ocean. And it's not ever increasing. In what sense ever increasing is described? This ocean of happiness is ever increasing at every step. Pratipadam. Anandam Ambudhi Vardhanam Pratipadam Purnamruta Swadanam. So there is no end. Using our material senses, if we start deriving happiness from practicing Krishna consciousness, processes of spiritual bhakti, then the happiness that we can get by connecting with Krishna should not be limited to our material senses. We can get unlimited happiness by following simple processes of hearing and chanting and remembering Krishna. Whereas the material happiness has a beginning and an end. Now Krishna is clearly not recommending material happiness, and he saying na teshu ramate buddha. Only the wise people do not delight in this, does not remain engaged in that, trying to enjoy senses. So he's want us to become intelligent, and That's what we should all try to become intelligent, using our Bhagavad Gita knowledge and using our intelligence, the right association and the facility given to us. What happens to the desires? The desires unattainable. Desires could be unattainable because we may have thousands and lakhs of desires. Practically, financially, economically, no, not every desire we can attain, we can realize. Unrealizable and unretainable. Now, these problems with the desires, attainable, but however, what about 6.28? The spiritual happiness is attainable for by everyone. We don't need any qualification or any condition, in any condition, to any caste limitation, any country limitation. There is no limitation. Everyone and anyone who follows the process can derive this happiness, can taste this particular happiness, and hence this is possible for everyone. Fresh karma, the material sense enjoyment leads to fresh karma, which leads to bondage, which leads to repeated birth and death. Whereas 6.28, when we perform activities in Krishna consciousness, there is no fresh karma. Plus, it helps us burn or eradicate all our past karma. So it is a win-win. It is all profit situation. Whereas if we have desires to enjoy matter, enjoy opposite sex, enjoy money, enjoy food, enjoy vacationing, enjoy buying homes, enjoy doing big business, enjoying doubling my business, tripling my revenue, and quadrupling my profit, all those actions have bondage, will lead to bondage, and that bondage will lead to repeated birth and repeated death. So Krishna recommends you to act in the devotional way only. Now, soul by nature desire for happiness, ananda. There is no mathematical formula for happiness. And also it is not measurable, but it is an experience that soul gets. And for that, soul has dependent on the mind and the senses. To perceive happiness, soul has the dependency. Now, due to past conditioning, mind tries to look for happiness in sense enjoyment. Now, it's very interesting to know that what is natural for mind, where we have found food. Suppose there's a place where food is found in our home, and so whenever we become hungry, we are likely to go to that place to search food. When it's only when we don't find food there, or the food we find there is very distressful, only then we start searching for something else, some other portion, some other place in my home or in our home or in wherever we are searching for food. So that, but our natural tendency will take us to that place where, where we found food earlier. Similarly, mind naturally tries to look for happiness in sense enjoyment, because this is where why, because this is what it has done it in past lives. But now, so if so it fails to find happiness in the sense enjoyment, then it starts looking for alternate options. Then soul may come to the spiritual happiness as by the mercy of the Lord and devotee. So Brahmande Brahmite Kone Bhagyavana Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade Paye Bhakti Lata Beach. This, why will soul who is all his lifetimes has searched for happiness in sense enjoyment in the material world, by trying to enjoy matter always, why will he look up to spirit? Why will he look up to Krishna for happiness? Now that can happen if he has done some that we saw that in the last session Sunday. Also we discussed that when you have Sukruti, and Narottam Prabhu very beautifully explained that Sukruti is also of two types. One is material Sukruti and one is spiritual Sukruti. Material Sukruti will give you opulence, will give you knowledge, give you wealth, will give you respect. These are all material results of material Sukruti. And material Sukruti can be feeding poor, donating and helping people, and all those kind of things which are done in the under the name of charity, or even performing yagyas, donating to brahmanas for material gain. So that is for having a long life, for protecting my wealth, for increasing my profits, from getting a child, from, so these are all material desires for which whatever sacrifices are done, whatever charity is given, so that will lead to material credit. So which is not which is not good enough for to get a spiritual credit. So spiritual credits comes when you actually perform spiritual activity, and the spiritual sukruti also get generated when you are indulging into the spiritual activities actually. And if you would have chanted for the love of for Krishna, if you have helped devotees directly or knowingly, unknowingly, directly, indirectly, when you help a cause of Lord of the devotees are trying to establish temple. When you help devotees get land, if you could be a lawyer, fight devotees, help devotees fight a case and get land for your project, or donate to devotees for construction of the temple. Doing this kind of a seva without any having material motive gives a soul spiritual credit. Now that sukruti is by which you get attracted towards Krishna ultimately. So when devotees present Krishna to you, if you have this spiritual sukruti of having done some spiritual activity in past, you get attracted towards devotees and Krishna helplessly. So this is what will bring us to Krishna and keep us in the Krishna consciousness process. But for that also we need mercy of devotees. We need devotees who will present us. If we have sukruti, we develop that attraction. So that's our credit. That's no denial of that. But we don't wake up and open our eyes and instead of going to school, start going to temple. Now that's very unlikely to happen in most cases. We will be we will get presented with the Krishna consciousness philosophy by devotees. And if we have some spiritual credit, we will develop attraction towards it, towards listening to the message of Krishna, towards seeing Krishna, towards by learning about Krishna, one will not feel jealous about Krishna. That is what happen. That can happen only if you have spiritual credits. So spiritual happiness in summary is superior in quality, unlimited in quantity. Process is very easy to obtain. Anyone can practice it. No rules, no regulations. Anybody, no caste considerations, no country considerations, no community considerations. It's no religion consideration. It can be practiced by everyone, and everyone who practice it properly can experience it. And it is permanent in nature. Neha bhikramana shosti pratyavayo na vidyate swa alpamapti asya dharmasya no ato mahato bhayat. So it is never lost. Krishna says that wherever you left, even if you stop performing those activity in the next life, you will start from where you left off in the previous life. Now, we should know that we don't have any natural spontaneous attraction for Krishna for serving him, just like Vrajvasis have. Now, Brajvasis doesn't, they want to forget Krishna. The gopis are performing tapasya because they say that we remember Krishna so much that we are not able to take care of our family activities. We are not able to pay attention to our children. We are not able to take care of our in-laws, our husbands, our family relatives. So we remember Krishna so much. It's just zyada hi ho gaya. So we want to forget Krishna, for which they try to go to jungle and meditate, and they pray to Lord that they pray to same Krishna that give us some forgetfulness so that we can do our worldly activities properly. But that is their greatness. But they have natural spontaneous attraction for Krishna. We don't have that, and there hence we must practice sadhana bhakti. So using our intelligence nourished from the knowledge which we get from scriptures, we need to bring our mind under control so that we can engage ourselves in Krishna consciousness activities. So using the intelligence nourished by the knowledge of scriptures, we need to bring our mind under control so that we can be engaged in Krishna consciousness activities. So this is performing Krishna consciousness activities, getting up early in the morning and sitting for japa is not natural for us. Our natural, given a choice, is we'll sleep. If we are health conscious, we will want to go and run. If we are money conscious, we will want to read something which will give us a tip so that we can make big profit in the stock market on that day. So this early morning can be used by many people in many ways. Not necessarily they will use it for the purpose of Krishna consciousness, for the purpose of japa, and get pleasure out of it. A film lover will want to get up early in the morning and watch movie, or he may watch movie late night and may not even want to get up in the morning. So so doing Krishna consciousness activities is not a natural position for soul, that we must understand. And hence we must subordinate ourselves to a devotee who will have to keep reminding us why it is important for us to engage in the Krishna consciousness activities. And this is the background to that. Because we don't have natural attraction for Krishna consciousness activities, we have to force our way perform those activities, at least in the initial period. Just like a vehicle which is not working need to be pushed from behind initially just to get it started. Similarly, we need that push from devotees who mercifully actually agrees to push us and remind us every day to get up and do japa, to visit temple every day, or on whenever it is possible, to come for yatras, to donate regularly for the cause of the mission, spreading the mission of the Lord, to serve, engage in direct services wherever the opportunities exist, or in any other way they can be engaged in practical devotional service, so that the soul can start getting spiritual impressions. And as one get more spiritual impressions, one stop indulging into the material sense enjoyment activities, those impressions get buried. The earlier impressions get overwritten or buried under the newer spiritual impression that comes, and then the soul's desires become purified, soul's concept of happiness become purified, soul gets happiness from newer things, better things. And this is how the cleaning, the cheto darpana marjana happens. The mother is like compared to a intelligence, and mind is compared to a child. And how mother feed child is at times by force. She catch hold of the child and she feeds him. because mind, the child may not understand that taking medicine is important, playing, studying is important, doing physical activity is important, learn etiquette, good habit is important for him. But mother understands it. And hence, if mother is properly trained, mother is often reminded of what is good for the child, mother will somehow anyhow take control of the child and make child do things which are good for the child in the long run. Similarly, the intelligence need to take control of our mind, and intelligence need to be nourished by scriptures and by devotees. So devotees, what we talk, when we talk primarily to the intelligence of a person and not to the mind. The mind may be telling me to leave the class and watch cricket, or watch the latest web series, or go and eat in that hotel. So this is what mind can be telling me, but my intelligence, if strong enough, will keep me hooked to the class. Stay on, something more is coming, something more will be useful. This will be, because this is good for the soul on the long run, this is good for the child in the long run. So even though child may not understand it now, a mother may understand it. Mother has to understand it, and mother will force child to do things that she wants to do. Similarly, Krishna consciousness activities eventually will give enormous happiness and ultimately clear our path for liberation. And once soul get taste of the higher happiness in Krishna consciousness, then he will be able to give up the lower happiness by seeking that it seek from the sense objects. This may not happen automatically, but over period, eventually this can easily happen. And this will happen in bits and pieces for different attachments of ours as we progress in the Krishna consciousness. So just to summary, the mind control is essential not only for practicing spiritual life, but even for success, becoming successful in the material life. But same is not easy as confirmed by Lord Krishna himself. However, it is possible by practice and detachment. And we must use our intelligence to bring our mind under control, just like how a mother get things done from a child for his good, long-term benefit. Control mind must be engaged in activities of Krishna consciousness. By experiencing higher taste or higher happiness, one will be able to give up the lower taste or the lower happiness. And ultimately, that higher taste will give us remembrance of Krishna, and remembrance of Krishna will give us Krishna ultimately. The activities which can be done are the 9 processes of devotional service in simple way. You can summarize them as chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra every day morning, getting up early in the morning and chanting Hare Krishna, hearing about Krishna from devotees, from scriptures like Srimad Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, eating foodstuff only offered to Krishna as prasadam, staying in constant association of devotees who will keep telling us the same things, that don't do this, don't do this. These are the don'ts you have to do, and these are the do's you have to do. And you have to be humble all the time. Now, devotees will teach us all this. They will keep reminding us all this. 31st March, 31st December आ रहा है. बहुत सारी parties हो रही है. But temple has also organized an event so that you are protected. You are not. Temple will ensure that you don't go outside. If the soul wants some entertainment, let's go to the temple and enjoy by keeping Krishna at the center. Let's not go to the parties outside where you will hear a lot of Bollywood music. People will be gambling or drinking and smoking, and that will just become degradation of your consciousness. It will degrade your consciousness for sure. And again, coming back to Krishna consciousness can become very, very difficult. So these, you need devotees in your life, a faithful devotee, a strong devotee connection, who will keep reminding you that where the real pleasure is, what is good for you in the long term. And by listening to those devotees, by remaining keeping ourselves subordinate to those devotees, willingly accepting instructions from them, acting according to those instructions, at times giving our own pleasures, our own desires for those enjoyments, and by listening to them, we will we will be saved from creating newer material impressions. And then that if we keep doing that, it's like trying to burn a wood by pouring water on it constantly. Because if you keep providing water to the wood, there will be a lot of smoke that the fire will generate. The wood will not burn properly. So our material desires, our material attachments need to be burned. Our anarthas need to be burned. And that burning becomes difficult if we keep providing a lot of water to that food. That by adding water, by regularly pouring water on the wood, we make our job difficult of burning the anarthas and burning the bad desires. so so we should be subordinate. We should humbly listen to the devotees. Many times, even against our will, against our wish, we should listen to the devotees. And whatever devotees are telling, we should do. We should do those things. I was tempted to say we should try and do those things, but the moment try comes, creates a loophole for us not doing things. We should do things. Whenever devotees tell us to do things, they empower us to do those things as well. So we may not even worry about our own capacities, capabilities. We should simply jump into doing those things. And that will, the success or the failure, it's all Krishna decided, and Krishna will decide, and the devotees will decide. So our endeavor, our job will be to completely endeavor to the best of our ability, and not give reasons for not doing it. So by becoming subordinate to the devotees, we become subordinate to Lord, and then we can play role in their mission, using our abilities and qualities and skills, and thereby becoming instrument in the hands of devotees, instrument in the hands of Krishna, and become eligible for their mercy. After all our efforts, we should depend on the mercy from Krishna. For controlling mind, Krishna says, amongst the Indriyas, I am mind. So anybody who thinks he can control his mind without Krishna's mercy, without Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, is wrong. Ultimately, these are all our endeavors, these are all our efforts we can do, which are in our control. And ultimately, after doing our things, we should depend on Krishna for the mercy, because without Krishna's mercy, controlling our mind is not possible. And without controlling our mind, no success in devotional service is possible. Our spiritual goals cannot be realized. We cannot cultivate 100% remembrance of Krishna without mercy from Krishna. And Krishna will give us mercy seeing our sincerity. So let's be all sincere in performing our bhakti, our devotional service, so that we become eligible for attracting Krishna's mercy. And let's use our mind for the right cause, rather than using our mind for uh, for pouring water onto the burning wood and making our job difficult. So I'll just pause here. We'll see if we have any questions. We can discuss those.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji. Let's go to the chat box to see if there are any questions. Hare Krishna. Yeah, there are no questions on the chat box. So if anybody has any questions, you can raise your hands, or yeah, Swapnil Prabhu has one question. Yeah, Vikas, you have a question?
No,
Yes, Swapnil Prabhu, you can go ahead with your question.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Prabhuji, there is an echo at your end. I think you have two logged in.
Yeah, I'll just correct. Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, you can speak.
Prabhuji, today's session was a very strong session. Probably to make a deeper impact of today's session, we will have to go through the recordings of your session, because it has captured a lot of things, and probably this is the session I can say that we will have a lot of answers after going through this session properly. However, I have a question. Hello. Yeah. Prabhuji, I have a question.
Yes, Prabhuji.
I'm getting one call again and again. Although I'm disconnecting, still I'm getting it. Prabhuji, the question is about the mind. When we talk about mind, Prabhuji, when we talk about the mind, we always say that mind is the outer covering, or the mind, intelligence, and false ego. Prabhuji, can Vikas Prabhuji take the next question? I think I'm getting frequent call. Sorry.
No problem. Yeah, you can mute.
Disturbing.
I'll take one question from the chat box. Ashok Prabhuji has written a question. I'll open those. So, Prabhuji, one query, as you said, mind is servant of soul. However, what if soul asks for having alcohol or bad thing? Then what would be the mind's role? And he has a follow-up question down. And also, does soul ask for bad things also, or the soul desires only good things? So soul, so very nice question. So Praji, soul in its pure state will only ask for good things. But in its impure state, soul will also the soul wants happiness. And unless soul is aware of spiritual happiness, it will look for happiness in the material things. If soul hears others from others that after drinking alcohol, they feel very happy, or after indulging in this particular visiting this place, they become after they visited a casino and they were very happy. Now soul, by hearing these things, also soul can get desires. So we get desires from multiple ways, in multiple ways. Just by seeing a pastry, we may get a desire to eat pastry. But seeing a dragon fruits, which we have never seen, we may not really get a desire immediately to eat it. However, if we hear somebody else talk about how sweet dragon fruit is, or how tasty it is, how much nutrition it is, and what are the good benefits of eating dragon fruits, and so on and so forth. So by first looking at the dragon fruit, we may not get a desire to eat it. Just like we get a desire to eat after by seeing a mango, we may get a desire to eat, but dragon fruit is foreign to us. We may not want to eat it. But by hearing about dragon fruit constantly from others who are surrounding us, there we may get a desire to eat that dragon fruit. So our desires can have a linear connection, straight connection, or can have a triangular connection. Now by seeing dragon fruit, we are not getting any desire. A soul is not desiring to eat it. However, soul is hearing somebody else who has eaten dragon fruit, and how good that dragon fruit is, how tasty it is, how nourishment, how much nutritious it is, how much what all it contains, and how beautiful its color is, how sweet its taste is. Constantly by hearing this from this other person, the soul may generate a desire to try and eat that dragon fruit. So the desires can get generated through a triangular relationship, or can have a direct relationship with us. Soul, if he's not trained in the Krishna consciousness, if he's in history, in past lives, the why we are there in the material world, because we are not in the spiritual world. And why we are not in the spiritual world? Because we have impurities, we have indulged in activities which had led us to our material existence. So it's like we should not ask person who is in jail, everyone in jail is a criminal. So we have done something wrong, which means we have done something. We've had some desires in past, because of which we were indulging into the material activities, because of which we landed up in the material world today. So the soul has experience of sense gratification in the history. Souls has indulged himself into the sense gratification in the history of this life or past lives. So all those impressions soul is carrying with it. And so the first natural instinct for soul is to look for happiness in the matter, because that is what it has done in past. Now the specific of alcohol or other bad things, now I'm saying, even now forget bad things, even eating food for one's own enjoyment also is sinful. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that if you cook food for your own pleasure, then that is sinful. That if whatever you consume, even that is sinful. Now that you must be, that all the food stuff ingredients that you must have purchased using your own legal income, you're not stealing from anybody, you're purchasing everything legally. So there's nothing illegal about you purchasing grains and trying to cook khichdi for your own consumption as per your own taste. However, if you cook food with a desire to relish it yourself, then that becomes sinful. So the sinning is not necessarily indulging into illegal or immoral activities. Now, this is a simple act of eating food, preparing food for one's own consumption is sinful, Krishna says very clearly in Bhagavad Gita. So the food stuff should be offered, food stuff should be prepared for the purpose of offering it to Krishna only, and then consuming it as a prasad. Even then only it becomes a sin-free meal. So the sins can come from very subtle activities like this. Now, this is not a gross negative activity. Now, taking alcohol, gambling, going to a prostitute. No, these are all grossly immoral, unethical activities. We can label them. However, preparing food for one's own pleasure is not per se a bad activity, but even that can give you a sinful reaction. And so, even if we have acted in sattva guna there, still it is creating bondage, still it is creating giving us a fruit which could be a fruit which will give us more enjoyment in the world, but it is binding on us to stay in the material world for until we finish enjoying those enjoyments. So that way it is not helpful for spiritual our spiritual goal of attaining Krishna, burning all historical fruits and going back to Krishna. So our mind is a servant of soul, but it can a soul can generate those desires as well. And then the desires can come from the soul because soul want happiness. Now mind, if soul has engaged earlier in those activities of trying to get happiness out of alcohol, that is the first proposal mind is going to present to the soul. If you want to be happy, let's go to the bar and drinks alcohol. Now a soul may try that as well, and so my soul must have had tried it in past, because of which such suggestion proposal is coming from the mind. But if soul has always gone to the temple and participated in Sankirtan to become happy, that can be the first proposal that will come from soul, mind as well. So soul desires and mind proposes. A soul will desire happiness, ki I'm feeling very low, I want to be happy, I want to cheer up, and then mind will present things for what can be the cheer up options. Option 1, go to temple, participate in Sankirtan, sing with devotees Hare Krishna Mahamantra, go to Govinda's, eat. If you are hungry, go there, eat prasad. If you want to see something nice, go to temple, see Lord's form. And so these are options. You want to have an urge to do something, go to temple, do some seva, practical say seva. Now this is where you can control, you can train your mind to give you options which are spiritual options. When this is absent, you will all get material options, and that can range. It can have a very wide range, from going to bar to going to a prostitute to going to watch a movie, watching porn, watching Bollywood, watching cricket, watching football, whatever it is. It is everything which is there, which our mind may think can give us happiness. Go and shop unlimitedly. Now it can be any option that mind can present based on our past indulgences. So this is our position. So I hope Ashok Prabhuji, this is helpful. There's another question there. Prabhuji, what if someone tries to manipulate you subconsciously? Now that can happen. So for example, it's not subconsciously, even consciously people may get affected. Say if an American comes to my office, and in office World Cup is going on, so everybody talks about cricket. Now American person has got nothing to do with cricket. They doesn't understand cricket at all. But by constantly hearing everybody talking about one team or the other team, and then doing somebody hit 6, somebody hit 4, and then when the match happens, everybody gets into the conference room and watch cricket match, and then this American person initially has no interest in cricket, eventually start developing interest in cricket. Now this may happen consciously or this may happen unconsciously. Eventually he may also start liking cricket. Now, so this is not a manipulation, this is effect of association. Somebody may, when you say manipulate, somebody intentionally inject some desires into you. Now that is possible. That is also possible. We can't say no, but that is something we should be able to resist. That is where a direct intervention is happening. This is where devotees are telling you that instead of going and enjoying 31st December with your friends, where Bollywood will be played, alcohol will be consumed, chicken will be consumed, come to temple and stay up till 12:30 and do mantra rock, play games, eat prasad, hear from Maharaj, and be with devotees. Do the same similar activities. Now, this is intervention. This is intervention because your natural liking is to go with your college friends and or whatever your childhood friends and enjoy the way they are enjoying. And devotees are intervening and injecting this new desire into you. And if you are wise enough, you are careful enough, you will accept that proposal and come to temple instead of going for a dance party, Bollywood dance party. Now, by subordinating yourself to a devotee, they've been able to protect you. Now they are also injecting this desire into you. Given a choice, you will still go there. However, because you have a respectful, where you consider devotees to be respectful, you want to listen to them, and instead of enjoying there, you came to temple, you dance on the mantra rock show, and you ate food nicely, feast, prasadam, you played games there, and you had nice time with everyone, all your devotee friends, and then you came back, and then probably the similar thing happened there. People went there, they ate something, they danced, and then they came back. But this is an intervention that has happened by the devotees. So at times such interventions can be good also. We don't have to. This is not a manipulation, but devotees are pushing you that don't go for that party, come for this party. Now this has better for you. Now we have to be careful who is trying to do this kind of a thing, and accordingly we can subordinate ourselves to those interventions or reject those interventions rightly. If it is to be the other way around, you're all prepared to go to temple for 31st, celebrating 31st December, and suddenly your childhood friends and they all come up to your home and they say, ओ हमारे इतने साल का दोस्ती है, क्या कर रहा है तू, मंदिर क्यों जा रहा है, क्या करेगा वहां जाके, तू हमारे यहाँ चल, ये लड़की आ रही है, वो लड़की आ रही है, यहाँ मजे करेंगे, ऐश करेंगे, हम लोग दारू पियेंगे, तुझे नहीं पीना है मत पी, तू सिर्फ बैठ हमारे साथ, चाहे तो ड्राइविंग कर. And this is also another way of manipulating. They are manipulating your relationship, past indulgences. देख 2 साल पहले हम लोग गए थे, तभी कितना मजा आया था, and all that. They are also manipulating. But this manipulation is like pouring water on a burning wood. So this will just create a lot of smoke, a lot of confusion for you. So you should resist it. You should reject it. Sometime politely, sometime in a firm way, so that they don't come up again. And you continue going to temple. So it can happen in both ways. And one has to be conscious enough and careful enough in accepting one and while rejecting the other. One should always see our long-term good in the spiritual point of view. Another question we have is, we have to stay Krishna conscious always. We have tried a lot, but some material duties are not allowed to do. So always distract our mind to essential duties towards relations, which leads to distance from Krishna. So the material duties in our, we are all in grahasashram. As being in grahasashram, we have certain duties. A student will have to study. Now he is not necessarily studying Bhagavatam. If he's studying architecture, if he's studying chartered accountancy, if he's studying engineering, obviously these are material skills and they are required. However, we should have a strong Krishna. So the way then, does it means that during those times we are actually not Krishna conscious? The answer is yes. During those times we are not Krishna conscious. However, we can make the end objective of those activities in the Krishna conscious way. The way we give example is, a boy wants to do engineering. Okay, so his sambandha is with engineering study. He may have 8 subjects in engineering, SEM 1, SEM 2, SEM 3, or year 1, year 2, year 3, and he's studying engineering. Now his relationship is with engineering, and those subjects could be mechanical, could be electrical, could be computer science. Now computer science, for example, is his subject. Then he is studying some computer science subjects and maybe studying some languages, learning some programming languages and about artificial intelligence and other aspects about computers. Now his This is his immediate objective. Immediate objective is to get a degree, and for that he may follow a process. What is a process? Getting admission in a college, studying, attending all the classes, performing, doing homework, preparing for exam nicely, appearing for exam and writing all papers properly. Now this is the process that he has to follow for fulfilling his attachment, his sambandha with the engineering of computer science. But when he get a degree of computer science engineer completed, and he gets a final mark sheet and a degree page in his hand, is that the end objective for which he did what he did? No. His end objective is to use his knowledge, skill in maybe go to America, get a job in a big company, and become a manager, become a CEO, and earn a lot of money and live happily. So what he's doing right now, that is not his end objective. That is his end objective is something else. And this is going to become instrumental for him to achieve that end objective. Similarly, our relationships with people around us, our relationship with our relationship, our duties which are associated with those relationship with the people around us are instrumental for us in achieving our ultimate objective. And as long as our ultimate objective is clear, what is our ultimate objective is to go back to Krishna. And for that to happen, we have to remember Krishna all the time. And for that to happen, we should perform 9 processes of devotional service led by hearing, chanting, and remembering Krishna nicely. We should serve deities nicely. And to do all this, we need some basic material facilities. Because if we want to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, we should be fed enough so that we have energy to chant. If we want to wear dhoti kurta, we need to have money to buy dhoti kurta. After returning from temple, we need a home to stay. And so these are the facilities, bare minimum facilities that we need. If we are to visit often, we may require a vehicle. If temple is far away from my home, I may require a vehicle. And these are all legitimate things that I may need, I may consider which are my requirement for me to be able to perform bhakti. So these things, to collect these things, which will aid me to perform bhakti, which will aid me to remember Krishna, which will help me go back to Krishna. Now, as long as my end objective is clear, how I collect my possessions, how I purchase my home, these are functional issues. This while doing this also, my end objective is not to be a perfect wife or a perfect husband or a perfect son or a perfect daughter, because these are all functional relationships. My ultimate relationship is with Krishna, and I want to go back to Krishna. I want to do this nicely. As a student, I will study nicely so that I pass engineering degree, so that I can go to America, get a big job and become happy there. So that similarly, as a student, as a whatever varnashram or grahastha, varnashram, wherever we are, we should do those things nicely in such a way that they don't become an obstruction for us to perform devotional service, which is essential for us to go back to Krishna. So while doing these activities, as long as our end objective is clear, they don't become distraction. They become useful for us to cultivate or perform devotional activities with more in a very proper way, so that we can attain our ultimate objective. So if we can maintain that consciousness while acting in the material world, we will, whatever we are doing, we are studying, we are working, we could be serving her family, all that, while doing everything, our end consciousness, if that is clear, we have to perform. This is required to be done by me, so that when a morning comes, I'm peacefully able to chant. Whenever time comes to chanting, I'm able to chant properly. I'm able to read properly. I'm able to remember Krishna properly. I get sufficient money to visit Dham properly, and I can thereby cultivate constant remembrance of Krishna, and I can go back to Krishna. So then they are not distraction. But if we get too much entangled into those relationships and those duties, And then by forgetting the ultimate objective, why we are doing it, then they can become entangling. There we again we need constant association of devotees who can remind us that about our ultimate objective. And Narad Muni, when he's describing how Prahlad Maharaj preached, this is conversation between Narad and Yudhishthir, where he's speaking what Prahlad has spoken. And he says that a person in Grahastha ashram can make progress in devotional service by association with devotees, regularly associating with devotees. And in those regular association, devotees will remind you always what is the ultimate objective of your all what you are doing in the Grahastha ashram. What is the ultimate objective of that? Ultimate objective is create facility in the Grahastha ashram so that you can perform devotional service nicely. And when you perform devotional service nicely, you can cultivate remembrance of Krishna always, and thereby you can go to Krishna. It is that way we can link it. How can one control the mind to not lose temper and not react and hold on to the situation? So we saw a couple of examples of anger in Durvas Muni. Now Durvas Muni, nothing happened. The Ambarish Maharaj simply take a sip of water to break his Ekadashi fast. And he was kept waiting by Durvas Muni. He went to take bath with his associates, and he didn't return for a long time. And the time for Dwadashi fast breaking was passing away. So by sipping water, Ambarish Maharaj broke the fast, but at that same time, he didn't eat anything. So ideally, Durvasa Muni had no reason to complain. However, he felt insulted. He felt dishonored. Now, the desire for honor is also can also lead one to become angry. So we always think that the Sanjat Sanjayate Kama, Kamat Krodho bhi jayate. The attachment comes the anger, and we can be attached to many things that we ourselves might not be aware. But it's like attachment to honor, attachment to respect, attachment to saying good words when we go to see some people. If they don't speak, attachment to attention. If somebody doesn't pay attention to us, even that can make us very uncomfortable, and that can give rise to anger. ऐसा किया मेरे साथ, मैं भी आने दो उसको, next time I will also do the same thing for him. And then we may start burning inside. That person might have done something completely out of ignorance, but it can burn completely us from within. Rupa Goswami was in Samadhi, watching pastime of Radha Krishna in Golok Vrindavan. That time he smiled because Krishna lifted Radharani to pluck a flower, and then when she held onto that branch, he left her from behind, from the bottom, and so she was hanging to the branch with both her hands, and she was crying for help. And seeing her in that condition, Krishna laughed. And seeing Krishna laughing, his mischievous nature, Rupa Goswami also laughed. And that time, one lame Brahmana was passing by, and he was limping. He was limping, and he was walking, passing by from the same scene, and he saw Rupa Goswami laughing. Now Rupa Goswami is laughing to a completely different situation. He's laughing to Krishna's mischievous nature, but this Brahmana who was not aware of that reality, he thought Rupa Goswami is laughing because he's limping. He's not able to walk properly, and he felt insulted. And Rupa Goswami's samadhi broke. So it's difficult for us to imagine what can give us anger, and all those things, we cannot number them. We cannot list it out. We may be in our awareness, there could be some things which instantly give us anger, but in our subconscious mind also, there will be things which can give us anger, make us angry, and that they may pop up suddenly, and then we may suddenly find out that I never knew this kind of a situation can also make me angry. But all we have to do is to clean up our mind, and by cultivating correct desires and performing right activities. So our desire to love and serve Krishna and our activities of devotional service to please Krishna, they can keep us protected from us going back on our track, where various things gave us anger, various things made us unhappy, various things, various situations, where we lose our temper. But by superimposing devotional impressions on those, they will go deeper and deeper, and it will become difficult for them to then pop up. So that way we can deal with those things. We cannot otherwise plug them out and throw it out of our mind. Our mind is not a physical thing that way. Vinod Kumar Praji, food, in case food is not prepared for self for offering to Lord, but was purchased or at someone else's house, can it be offered to Lord? uh, so food per se is Lord's property. We can produce food only by using facility which is given by Lord himself. We cannot produce food out of nothing. We use the earth, which is energy of Lord. We use water, which is energy of Lord. The seed is energy of Lord. Plant also has a soul, which is Krishna's Amsha. So everything and anything and everything related to food is Krishna's, and we just offer it to him as our gesture of love. And because it is come from Krishna, we are offering it to him, and before before we consume it. So nobody other than Krishna has ownership over the foodstuff that we eat. Or the grains, annat bhavati, parjanyat bhavati anna. So Krishna says, gives the food chain. That he says, human living entities are supposed to subsist on the grains, on the anna, and that grains are produced by the water, and water rains, and the rains are produced by the yajna. So there is so the only owner of foodstuff that we all eat actually is Krishna. And it could be temporary owner, could be anybody. It could be the grocer from whom we are buying. It could be the farmer who is producing, and or it could be anyone. As long as it is offered, it is to be consumed by us, and then it has to be offered, and everything is offerable because ultimately it is all Krishna's property. Intermittently there could be transactional owners in between, but none of them are real owners. So we should offer it to Krishna, nevertheless, from whichever the source is. Controlling our mind. Thank you. We don't have any questions. So Swapnil Prabhuji, I don't know if you if you can ask your question, because we are done with all questions on the chat box.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, actually, today's session was very good, as I explained previously. We will have to go through this session recording once again and understand the depth of what, because I have always said that mind is very strong. But as you said, that mind has to be controlled by the intelligence. My question was with respect to when we talk about mind, does a woman mind has a different perspective and a man's mind has a different perspective? And since mind is something, the soul has no gender, but mind is something which is over and above above our soul, which controls our senses, outer senses. So that is my one question. Second is, Prabhuji, whenever we talk about men fouling and their intelligence going wrong, we always talk about that men fall for women, which it hurts because women are so powerful entity made by the God, and they themselves do not fall, but it is the wrong. It is the men who take it wrongly, and but in all our discussion we talk about you know, that men fall for women, but unnecessarily women gets dragged in, whereas men fall for a sense of enjoyment and object, but not a woman. So whether I'm wrong in thinking that, please clarify on this, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. So typically, soul acquire nature of the body that it has acquired. And so, for example, if soul is in human body will cry for food. A soul in dog's body will bark for food when it's child, and so on and so forth. So similarly, when a soul is in women's body or a men's body, it gets, so for example, soul in male body gets pleasure by watching and by looking at the female body. Now this is by nature, by the psychophysical nature, because of the soul, once he is in male body, will have this tendency, and the opposite is also true. However, does it necessarily, so it's like a urge may come, but does it mean that one has to act on the urge? No, the answer to that is no. You may get 100 urges. For example, if you're if you're traveling from office to home, or office to home, and in between there is a bar which is there in between, which is a famous bar where you have often gone and enjoyed with your friends, and so every time you pass from that road, you will get an urge to go and stop by that bar and maybe have a drink and go. At times, when there is something sick at home, your mother, your parent are sick at home, and for that, you get a phone call in our office that so and so is sick, and then you want to prepare yourself, immediately pick up bag, get yourself into the car and start driving on the way back home. Now while driving, you are again passing the same road and the same bar is seen, but the urge may come, but you just reject it. Just disgusted. Oh, how can I get this kind of a desire? I'm going for such an important work. My so and so is not well. Let me go there and find out what's happened, and maybe I'll have to go to a hospital or take them to a doctor or whatever. So the urge may come, but very firmly you'll deal with that urge. You'll reject that urge. However, you're just doing a casual stroll from office to home. You have nothing at home. Nobody is at home. Everybody has gone out somewhere. And you're trying to figure out what to do after this office, and you're there with your friends, and casually you are driving, not in a hurry to go home, because anyway, you just have to go home and sleep. And at that time you pass the same road. Now the urge that will come will be very difficult to reject. The same urge will come, and now you will entertain that urge. You will allow that urge to enter into you, and you will entertain that urge. You will retain that urge. You will work on that urge. जा सकते हैं क्या? नहीं जा सकते हैं. मेरे फ्रेंड्स भी है. खर्चा कितना होगा? जा सकते हैं. वैसे भी घर पे कोई नहीं है. कुछ कहीं तो मुझे खाना है. I'll have couple of drinks, and then I will eat something. Then I'll go home and just sleep. And so what you are doing is you're letting that urge to enter into you, and now you're retaining it, and you're working on it, processing it, and more you process it, more grip it takes of you, then more difficult it becomes for you to reject it later. After all conclusion, you come to even if you have gone little ahead of that road, you will take a U-turn and go to the bar, and then get into that indulgence. So it is, the urges will come, urges will keep coming every now and then. But it is the intelligence, the firmness of the intelligence, and the sharpness of the intelligence with which you should be able to reject those urges at a very early stages. And if you can do that, then those just like in the first instance, you rejected that urge, saying that the moment it came, you just rejected it. You didn't have to deliberate on it. Ki sochna nahi pada. You just said, no, what can I, how can I even think like that? You know, even, in fact, you will get disgusted by the thought of, how did that thought came to you? That way you will wonder, okay, I'm going home, middle of the office, leaving everything, and then how can such thought come to my mind? And that, you'll just curse yourself for getting such a thought. So it depends on the sharpness of our intelligence. Doesn't matter the male body or a female body. The souls will have tendencies according to the body, for psychophysical nature that it will get. And that's true. But the urges that it gets can be dealt with properly if the intelligence is sharp. And intelligence becomes sharp by hearing from scriptures and hearing from devotees and listening to them, making ourselves subordinate to them, taking instructions for them. It is not easy to take instructions from people. In our material life, we could be a successful person, so it's not easy for us to become humble in front of devotee who could be, there are devotees who are not fully literate, and Maharaj, they could be speaking in the village accent, or but they are all elevated souls. And so at times we may, with all our material bad learnings or material education, we may not want to be subordinate to those, and we may struggle to become subordinate to those and take instructions from those. So that's also a battle that we have to fight with our mind, and make it humble, so that the instructions can be taken and worked upon, followed. So to summarize, it does not matter, male body, female body, every body will have desires, and every desire needs to be dealt with by the mind in a firm way. Or if it becomes too soft to those desires, then those desires will enter and take a grip of our consciousness. So that way we can understand this. So
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat
Hare
Pranam.
Krishna.
And the wonderful session of the wonderful topic mind. And it is always impossible to to lead a good spiritual life without controlling the mind. And you have touched upon the various aspects, so that how it can be done. And the beautiful aspect of Krishna consciousness, as you explained, is just by hearing from the devotees and just following the instructions, the mind can be ultimately controlled. And in that regard, actually, the association of devotees, what I felt, is of more importance. Or if we are not getting the physical association, at least the instructions, the association of instructions of the devotees is, and that immensely helps. As His Grace Nautam Priya Prabhuji was also once explaining that people often land up falling down because they keep contemplating, or what to talk about people, even the great rishis like Bharat Maharaj and the Sobri Muni, because they were in the seclusion, they were living in the seclusion. So you have re-emphasized on that point, that the association of devotees is of ultimate help. And to when I was hearing through your this session, the beautiful session, I actually reminded the one session given by His Grace Abhogila Prabhuji, where he was beautifully defining the mind, the abbreviation of mind. And he says that M stands for, it magnifies the issues. The issue may not be that large, but it magnifies it to a greater extent. And he tells that I stands for imagine pleasure. Whatever conditions of life may be, it starts imagining pleasure in that, though there may be nothing. And he was telling that it negates responsibilities. So mind always tries to keep us away from the scriptural learning, which is actually the responsibility of each and every soul to elevate itself. And it delays the response. If in case all these three happens to be in control, then the D part done is the delays response. And these every aspect of mind is possible to be in control if the good association and instruction of devotees are implemented in life. So you beautifully covered that in a crux actually, and it was so nice to hear all the aspects that came through this session, and very practical, very implementable, but still the monkey mind. So humble prayer to you, humble obeisances to you, that please keep showering your mercy through your various sessions so that we can start practicing humility in us, and ultimately mind can be controlled. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yes, a lot of devotees, all good speakers have spoken on mind. So we generally take inputs from many of those and then create a session like this. So it's so you get benefit of hearing many speakers, not just one. So that's true. But yes, and many speakers, including Amog Lila Prabhuji, have spoken on the topic of mind, and they've done it very elaborately as well. So thank you for bringing it up. If there are no questions, we can end today's sessions. Thank you so much for all staying back, and we will meet next Sunday with another topic. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you, Krishna. Dandavat.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you,
Dandavat Pranam,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji. Thank you so much,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Haresh Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Ravi Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam.